and I haven't been there for her. Yeah, because you've been at the hospital. And,
In direct contrast to the intense mental storm that was forming inside of Dante Falconere's head, the air was filled with the soothing hum of Charlie's pub. Despite the fact that Dante had put in a lot of effort throughout the day, he had the impression that he was not succeeding in solving the mysteries and following up on the leads. The strain of juggling his responsibilities as a detective, a father, and a son had started to get to a point where it was becoming excessive. Tonight, on the other hand, he was not dressed in the normal costume of determination. For the evening, he was nothing more than a man looking for comfort from an unanticipated confidant, Cody Bell. A confluence of events. That evening, Dante had no intention of meeting up with Cody. In spite of the fact that the former rodeo star turned stable hand had been forging his own way in Port Charles, their lives continued to cross paths in some unpredictable way. Dante had witnessed Cody's depth, which was often concealed by his charming demeanor and carefree attitude. However, few people tried to investigate this depth. When Dante entered Charlie's and saw Cody drinking a beer at the bar, he felt drawn to remain there for some reason. It could have been the fact that Cody, much like Dante, appeared to be carrying the weight of burdens that were not spoken about. "Could I come along with you?" After slipping onto the bar stool next to Cody, Dante asked the question. Cody raised his head, expressing surprise, but not displeasure. "This evening, Detective Falconere, are you going to be slumming it with us plain folk?" With a sneer on his face, Dante motioned to the bartender for a beer. "You have a way of talking. You are a cowboy, and you are in this place. What are you doing here anyway?" Cody let out a giggle, his familiar grin gradually transforming into something more reflective. "Do you know that there are times when you just need to get away from everything?" Dante gave a slight nod. "I agree. I am familiar with the sensation." Refusing to be confused, the two gentlemen sat together in a state of companionable stillness for a period of time, with a lone clink of glasses and the sound of distant laughter filling the emptiness. The conversation did not take a turn for the better until Cody cast a sideways glance in Dante's direction. "Cody made the observation that you seem off tonight. Having problems at work?" After a moment of hesitation, Dante shook his head. "Not by any means. Moreover, it encompasses everything else. The family unit. Expectations made. You are aware of the situation." Cody arched his brow in surprise. "A drama involving the family. I am an expert in that area. The spill." While he sat back and gazed at the amber liquid in his glass, Dante leaned back more. "There is more than one occurrence. All of it is included. Although my father, Sonny, and I have finally arrived at a positive place, there are times when I feel as though I am simply waiting for the other shoe to drop." The expression on Cody's face was particularly serious as he nodded. "I agree with you. When you have experienced failure in the past, it is difficult to have faith that things can continue to go well." The tone of Dante's voice was tinged with annoyance as he stated, "Exactly. There is also the matter of my employment. Despite the fact that I am obligated to protect the law, I spend the majority of my time pursuing people who are important to me. It's Sonny, my mother. You two are a hell." Cody couldn't help but smile, but his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "You are certainly kept on your toes by me, aren't you?" Dante gave a sneer. "I think you have no idea." A crucial moment in time. Following a brief break, Dante's voice became more subdued. "Yet, it's not just Sonny who was affected. It is Alulu. I am aware that she is no longer here, but I still have the impression that I am failing her in some way." The way that Rocco stares at me makes me feel like I am his entire universe, and I'm not sure if I'm enough for him. But what if I make him seem bad? The look in Cody's eyes changed. This sensitive and self-doubting aspect of Dante was something he was not accustomed to witnessing in front of him. Listen, I'm not exactly the poster boy for brilliant parenting advice, but I can assure you that you won't make Rocco's life any more difficult than it already is. The fact that you are there for him is something that a lot of children do not receive. The corner of Dante's mouth turned up into a half smile. Thank you, but there is more to it than that. I have the impression that I am perpetually caught in the middle, between Sonny's world and my badge, between what I want for Rocco and what the world is going to throw at him. I honestly don't know how to make sense of everything. While Cody was thinking about what Dante had said, he took a deep drink of his beer. You can't control everything, Dante, he stated at the end of the conversation. Take my word for it. I tried. There are times when the greatest thing you can do is simply show up and make an effort to treat the people who are important to you in a manner that is respectful. A quiet giggle came from Dante. At what point did you become so wise? Cody responded with a casual tone. It's something that comes with the territory. If you are going to grow up in my line of business, you are going to learn a few things about dealing with survival. And believe me when I say that you are doing a great deal better than you believe you are. In the open, Cody. When Cody made the decision to share a bit of himself, which was something he did very infrequently, the conversation altered. The tone of Cody's voice was low as he stated, "You know, you're not the only one carrying family baggage. There are times when I question whether or not I will ever be able to get it right," I said. "I've made a lot of mistakes." Dante regarded him with a strange interest. "What kind of errors have you made?" After a moment of hesitation, Cody finally spoke up and said, "I've driven people away. People who could have been there for me if I'd let people. Despite the fact that I believe I did not require anyone, I ended up making things more difficult for myself. It took me a very long time to understand that allowing other people to enter your life does not make you weak. It gives you a human state." The honesty that Cody conveyed through his speech took Dante by surprise. Cody was obviously someone who knew suffering and remorse, despite the fact that he was a very brazen person. "It seems as though you've learned the lesson the hard way," Dante replied in a soft voice. Cody gave a slight nod. "I agree. On the other hand, if there is one thing that I have learned, it is that you cannot let your history to determine who you are. It is imperative that you continue to make progress, even if it will only be one step at a time." A fresh comprehension of the situation. The tone of the talk became more light-hearted as the night progressed, with laughs and the occasional scathing barb interspersed throughout. After they had left Charlie's, Dante experienced a sense of relief, as if a burden had been taken off of his shoulders. As the two of them stepped out into the cool night air, Dante thanked them for participating in the conversation. With a grin on his face, Cody responded, "Anytime. Nevertheless, you should not believe that this indicates that I will be more lenient with you the next time you come after me for one of my questionable decisions." Dante gave a sneer. "I wouldn't go for anything less than that." As Cody departed into the darkness, Dante watched him go, and he felt a sudden sense of gratitude for him. It's possible that he didn't have all the answers, but tonight demonstrated to him that he wasn't the only one going through the challenges that he was. For the time being, that was plenty. What is the next step? Both Dante and Cody experience a turning point in their lives as a result of their conversation with Cody, which opens the door to a more profound understanding and an improbable friendship. Are they going to continue to rely on each other as they handle the obstacles that they are facing individually? Or will their differences ultimately cause them to become estranged from one another? There is one thing that can be said with absolute certainty. Bonds are put to the test in Port Charles, but the strength of those bonds can often determine the outcome.
I was upstairs with the nanny. He didn't sleep very well last night. Why? Why would I do that? I'm not interested in hearing any more stories, Brad.
Danny Morgan had the impression that the normally bustling hallways of General Hospital were something like to a cemetery, despite the fact that the walls of the hospital were alive with the continual hum of activity. Despite his youthful appearance, he headed in the direction of the nurses' station while wearing a mask of fierce determination. It took the casual observer to notice that the teen's cheerful and easygoing demeanor had been replaced with tension. This led to the realization that something was awry. When Lucas Jones, who had just finished interacting with a patient under his care, saw Danny smiling, he said, "Hey Danny, why are you in this location? Is everything all right?" The lines on Danny's lips were so tight that he didn't even look at Lucas. "We need to have a conversation." Lucas was taken aback by the manner in which the young man spoke. Even while it did not have an accusatory tone, it was dripping with a sharpness that Danny had never possessed. "Sure," Lucas responded with a careful tone. "It is time to enter the lounge, shall we?" A fury in the making. While he was inside the quiet lounge, Danny did not waste a single second. He lowered his gaze for a moment before folding his arms. "Why did you not assist Mom when she was in need of your assistance?" After being taken aback, Lucas blinked. "It is unclear what you are referring about." With fury beginning to seep in, Danny raised his voice. "Additionally, you are aware of what I am talking to, which is that you were not around while Mom was dealing with all of that nonsense regarding Lena and Sunny. Because you were not there for her, she was in need of family." A look of remorse appeared on Lucas's face as he pursed his lips and pressed them together. "Danny, please pay attention to me." The winks. When Danny finally spoke up, his blue eyes were blazing with something. Anger. Enthusiasm. "That is all there is to it. It is your sister, she is. Isn't it true that blood is more viscous than water? Nevertheless, you vanished when things started to get rough." In an attempt to explain Lucas, a sigh came out of Lucas's mouth as he ran his fingers through his hair. "My name is Danny, and I did not vanish. Even so, I was still dealing with my own issues. In addition, you are aware that ever since Brad and I broke up, I have been working hard to organize my belongings. All I needed to do was spend some time by myself." Danny, whose level of annoyance was building, shook off his head. It is not a justification to do that. Even though everyone has problems, that does not give you the right to ignore the individuals who are in need of your assistance. Mom has been trying everything in her power to keep everything in order, for Wiley, for Scout, and for me. But you haven't even been able to find the time to check on how she is actually doing. With the words of Danny now pressing down on his shoulders, Lucas hung his head in a downward position. His voice was quiet as he nodded and added, "You are correct. I ought to have been there. I have no idea how to deal with everything like this. Perhaps the most beneficial thing I could do would be to take a step back and give Carly some space. Having a personal relationship." There was a slight decrease in Danny's voice, but he was still feeling dissatisfied. "You don't seem to understand, do you? Mom does not require any room. She is in desperate need of the presence of those who love her, particularly when things get more chaotic. In light of the fact that this is what Dad would have done." The mere mention of Jason Morgan caused Lucas to immediately stiffen up, since he was aware of the extent to which Danny had admired his late father. Slowly, Lucas uttered the following. Your dad was different. There is no way that I could ever do what he did. Danny spoke with a wistful tone and stated, I don't want you to do that. All I'm asking is that you actually care, in order to be present, the way that Dad would have been. The lump that was in his throat was swallowed by Lucas. It's possible that Danny didn't intend for his words to be cruel, but when he was a teenager, they caused him a great deal of emotional distress. A disappointing reality. The statement, I know I have let people down, was made by Lucas after a brief pause. Don't get me wrong, I'm trying. That is the case. I had no intention of leaving Cardi with the impression that she was by herself. It's possible that I became so preoccupied with my own thoughts that I failed to recognize how much she required my assistance. The expression on Danny's face changed slightly as he looked at Lucas for a considerable amount of time. The statement that he made to you was that you still have time to make it right. However, you are required to work on it. The fact that Mom is out there doing her web slinger thing, as if she does not require anyone, is not lost on me. Nonetheless, I am aware that she is in pain. On the other hand, if you truly care about her, you will take action. In order to commit himself, Lucas offered a firm nod. You are absolutely correct. I will have a conversation with her. And to you, Scout, and to Wiley as well. You always do what you do, but I completely forgot what it means to be a member of a family. Construction of bridges. Despite the fact that Danny shifted his shoulders slightly backward, he maintained the same level of look as Lucas. That's good, Lucas, because we are in need of you. Not only when it is simple, but also when it is tricky. Lucas experienced a glimmer of optimism. I do guarantee it, Danny. I'm going to perform better. Danny smiled ever so slightly, a bit of relief finally replacing the frustration that had been building up inside of him. His voice became more reassuring as he said, I'll hold you to that. As soon as those few words were exchanged, and as the two of them walked out of the lounge, Lucas understood that his life had a new significance. Although Danny's comments had been difficult to hear, they were exactly what he required to hear. It's a new chapter. A chat that reminded Lucas that family is important, and that simply showing up is important, despite the fact that it can be difficult to do so on some days, was the catalyst that altered things for Lucas. And despite the fact that Danny had the sexual politics of a child of 12 years old, the fact that he had the fortitude to approach his uncle demonstrated that he was mature beyond his years. The Morgan legacy of dependability and perseverance was still very much alive and strong. It was moments like these that brought to our attention what it was that we should be fighting for in a community like Port Charles, where casual gossip frequently takes precedence over familial ties, and drama invariably cuts its way through hearts that are overflowing with love.
So no matter what I do, it's the right choice?
In the month of November, the air in Port Charles had become chilly, marking the beginning of the first of many extended winter months that will be encountered this year. Even though Lucky Spencer had just recently returned to town, the memories of his return seemed just as burdensome to him as all of the things he had concealed. Jake had been making an effort to remain undetected and to secretly reunite with his family, but Port Charles managed to ensnare you. Tonight, Lucky was standing by the docks, gazing down into the water that was shimmering in the reflection of the moonlight. His love for Elizabeth, his difficulties with substance misuse, and all the other events that made up his meandering story were all included within one place. He had a lot of himself present here. He was intended to leave Port Charles for good once more, but there was something about being at home that made it so difficult for him to leave. At that very moment, he became aware of footsteps coming from behind him. There was a familiar face emerging from the shadows, and Lucky stiffened up as his instincts kicked in and he spun around. Mr. Sonny Corinthos was the one. The tone of Sonny's voice was solemn but purposeful. Happy. It was my hope that I would discover you. In order to conceal the modular suggestion, Sonny used the opportunity to play Mr. Lucky. Sonny, he said, where does this come from? While he was resting against a post, Sonny was observing Lucky with eyes as sharp as a hawk. Evidently, Faith was pleased to see me. I was informed that you had returned to the city, she said. Assumed that you might be interested in having a brief conversation about a potential opportunity. A frown formed on Lucky's face. A chance to do good. What kind of window of opportunity are we talking about here? It was an unanticipated proposal. While he was folding his arms, Sonny's voice became softer. Someone with your specific set of talents is required to solve a challenge that I am currently facing. I can respect your sense of fairness, since you have experience working as a police officer. You are familiar with this community and the people who live there, and you know them inside and out. The feeling in Lucky's tummy shifted. This was a pitch that he had heard from Sonny in the past, many years ago, when he had just graduated from the academy and was attempting to bring down organized crime. That Sonny was going to come to him for assistance was something that he was aware of. The word lucky sounded icy. Tracy makes a statement along the lines of, "And I don't care what you are selling." In response, Sonny stated, "This is not about me. It is about ensuring the safety of individuals, as you are aware, Shulman. It is possible that there is someone out there who poses a threat to my family and who is willing to kill for me. Someone on whom I can trust and who intervenes even before the situation starts to balloon out of control." Lucky cocked his head to the side, acting in the same manner that he always did whenever a new concept concerning humans entered his thoughts. "Do you believe that I am the one who will carry out that task? In addition to Jason, why don't you also have some of your other enforcers leave?" An expression of resignation appeared on Sonny's face, and he let out a sigh of resignation. "Lucky Jason has left at this time. You also have one thing to consider, which is that they do not have a blank slate. Working for me would not be the only thing you would be doing if you were to join. In any case, you would be ensuring the safety of Port Charles." An ethical conundrum. A step backward was taken by Lucky, who was experiencing a whirlwind of thoughts in his head. This was not the first time that he felt himself gravitating toward the conflict of another individual. The all of his existence was spent perched on the edge of a cliff between light and darkness, attempting to establish equilibrium in a region that was never quite in the center of things. During a brief pause, Lucky made the following statement. "You want me to walk the line between Sonny and I? I am not sure that I want to go there again." "I understand," Sonny said in response. "Just keep in mind that if you do not assist, then who else will? If you do not aid, then who else will? When the police arrive, it will be too late to do anything about it, and the trustworthy individuals I can call right now are already dealing with a problem of this nature. The people who reside in this house are the ones who benefit from your actions. You are doing this for more than just myself." While Lucky was looking at the lake, his head was filled with a jumbled collection of feelings. There was a small part of him that yearned to escape, to uproot his life in Port Charles and look for a new place to call home abroad. A different aspect of him, the one that had always been overly concerned, was, nonetheless, drawn to the idea of duty. "What is the catch exactly?" With a tone that was subdued but resolute, Lucky inquired, "Is this going to be the last one?" Sonny gave a smirk to himself. "There is no catch. You have the chance to make a difference in the world in a way that no one else can. What does Elizabeth think? In the later hours of that day, Lucky was at the residence of Elizabeth Weber. A smile appeared on her face as soon as he entered the room, and she noticed that the strain had made his features more graceful. "Lucky, what exactly is going on?" As she escorted him inside, she beckoned for him to come in. Lucky took a seat at the kitchen table, but he did not make any effort to give the impression that he no longer had anything to say. "I received an employment offer from Sonny. State that he is having difficulty dealing with a threat that is posed to his family." It caused Elizabeth's eyes to widen. "And you're really going for it?" It was Lucky who stated, "I have no idea." In addition, I reassured myself that I would not get involved in anything that could go nasty while I was staying here. Nevertheless, Sonny made it sound as like this isn't just between him and his desire. The safety of the town is what he is referring about. On the other side of him, Elizabeth's eyes never went out of focus. "You are fortunate in that you have been working to help other people ever since the beginning of your life. However, at what price? Considering where this is going to put you and how it is going to pull you back into a position that you have been trying to get away from is something that you need to give some thought to." The expression of annoyance on Lucky's face was evident as he ran his fingers through his hair. "I am aware of this, but what if Sonny is correct? But what if I genuinely had the ability to make a difference?" The hand of Elizabeth was placed on his as she drew in closer. "Just give me your word that you will not get lost in whatever decision you make. You have come too far to return to that place and go back into the darkness. One that is made late at night." In the motel room he was staying in that night, Lucky was gazing up at the ceiling. There was a combination of Sonny's voice and Elizabeth's pleading in his brain. As he recalled his father, Luke Spencer, he reflected on the numerous instances in which his father had straddled the line between good and evil. Lucky never stopped trying to improve his performance and to discover his own path in life. To be better, however, it may not have meant not fighting at all. Rather, it may have meant choosing your fights deliberately. After some time had passed, he sat up straight, displaying lucidity and self-assurance in all that he intended to achieve. It's a new chapter. The following morning, Lucky was in Kelly's diner when he caught up with Sonny. There was already Sonny waiting for you, and he was holding a cup of coffee. Sonny remarked, "So, as Lucky took a seat in the chair, exactly what is the verdict?" For a moment, Lucky inhaled deeply. "I am in. I would like to make it perfectly clear that I am doing this on my own terms. I am not what you consider to be your muscle, and I am not going to cross any boundaries that I cannot get back from." With a smile that was only partially on his lips, Sonny gave a slight incline. "It is reasonable. Lucky, glad to have you join our team." Uncertainty swept over him as soon as Lucky extended his hand to shake it. Despite the fact that his future appeared to be unknown, this peculiar proposition represented one thing. Everything was going to undergo a transformation. The future holds what? In light of the fact that Lucky Spencer has chosen to collaborate with Sonny Corinthos, it would appear that Port Charles is not yet prepared to receive Lucky Spencer. I am curious about the reaction of his family to this decision. And what challenges does he anticipate encountering once he enters Sonny's world? But there is one thing that can be said with absolute certainty. Lucky still has a long way to go, and the stakes have been elevated to an extent that has never been seen before.